low beam, high beam, and cheap Chinese. What is up, guys? In this video I'm going to show you how I installed this 30-inch LED light bar, which was discarded from another vehicle, onto my shitty old van. I chose to have the switch located there on the gear stick as opposed to somewhere on the dashboard. So let's get straight into it. These connect to the battery with the fuse that connects to the battery with these cables, the relay, the switch, and of course the last cable is the actual light bar itself. And obviously when they took this off the car that it was installed on, they must have been in a real hurry because they've just cut the connectors off. So I'm going to have to scrounge through my bits and pieces to see if I've got a connector, because this is a cheap light bar, so I don't want to have to go and buy stuff and waste money, because if I'm going to spend money I might as well just go and buy a new one. I found some connectors in my little box of electrical bits and pieces, and I'm just going to strip these wires and connect the connectors. Now I have a very sophisticated crimping tool, a hammer. Okay, so that's the wiring harness. Now the end of the light bar, just strip a little bit of this insulation off. So being a van, obviously the engine bay is inside the cabin, so I've lifted up the seat, exposed the engine, taken the cover off the battery compartment, and there's a plastic moulding that goes along here that keeps the rubber matting down. So I've taken the plastic moulding off and just unclipped the rubber matting and pulled it forward. I'm going to have to run the wiring harness from the battery compartment, and I need to get it out to the front of the vehicle. All vehicles will have these grommets. If I pull this grommet out, okay, that's where I'm going to run the cable for the light bar. So I've had to take the battery out because it's just a little bit too awkward. So now at least I've got some room to work. Okay, that's on. Okay guys, so I have run the cable from the front of the vehicle through the main grommet in the firewall along the floor. I've just put a little bit of duct tape to keep it in place until I put the matting back down. I've run it underneath this. Along here I will cable tie these down, and I've then run it through this grommet here. The actual plug, luckily enough, fit through there, believe it or not. And I have mounted the resistor with the negative connection to the bodywork of the van. So it's all worked out okay so far. The switch cable, I have run that back out of there, along here, under here, and at the moment it's just sitting on the front seat until I work out how I'm going to mount it to the gear lever. Got it. Okay, so I've got the LED bar temporarily mounted with a couple of cable ties that's about where I want it. So what I want to do now is, so while I've got some slack in the cable, I want to join the wires. I want to heat shrink, put some heat shrink over them to waterproof them before I push the cabling back into the car, because it's obviously a lot easier to do that out here than trying to do it inside the car. Now it's just a matter of sliding on the heat shrink all the way through, connect that end, and then pull the heat shrink back over. Okay, so I've put heat shrink over those connectors, and then I've wrapped some electrical tape just as a bit of added protection, so there's no way that's coming loose and there's no way that's getting wet. So what I'll do now is I'll put the battery back in. I have installed the battery. I've still left the negative terminal disconnected until I'm completely finished wiring up. I've installed the positive connection, this part here, just the fuse. I've mounted the positive connection to there, so that's all good to go. I might end up cable tying that after. I guess what I should do now is temporarily connect the negative terminal and see if the bloody light works. Alright, so I've plugged the switch in and I've temporarily mounted the negative terminal to the battery. As soon as I've plugged the switch in, red LED lights come on the switch, which generally means off, as you can read there, off. So I'll press it again and hopefully nothing goes bang. Here we go. Voila, it works. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Let's get it all tidied up in here, ready to mount the switch to the gear lever. And we've also got to make some brackets to mount the light bar onto the bull bar at the front. Let's do it. Now you can see here that the actual LED bar is not wide enough to meet my mounting brackets that come on the bull bar, so I'm going to have to manufacture something. You can buy fancy brackets that mount under here and wrap around your bull bar, but I'm not interested in buying anything. This is a budget installation, I guess you could say. I've cut a piece of cardboard, same width as the steel that I'm going to use to make these mounting plate, and I've done that because it's a lot easier to play around and chop and change a bit of cardboard than a piece of steel. So basically it's a template and I've got it pretty much exact to the shape that I need the piece of steel. So I will grab my piece of steel, basically sit the cardboard over the steel like so, trace around it and then cut the steel to the shape that I want. So I'll do that. Okay, so I've cut these and just smoothed off the edges, and what I'll do now is I'll just go and give them a bit of a spray paint, stop them from rusting, and then we'll mount them up. So I've sprayed those mounting plates, drilled the holes out for the bolts, and I'm just waiting for them to dry. So those mounting plates I cut out of that piece of steel, I've sprayed them satin black, and they'll go on just like that. So I'll get those bolted on and come back. So I've bolted them on. I haven't got them on tight, but I've just got them on there at the moment, so I can cut these cable ties. Pull that out. It's not touching the bar and scratching. So I think what I'll do is I will tighten down the bolts. Right, that's not going anywhere. That is not going anywhere. So where I'm at now is I've got this switch which goes into the cabin, which normally will stick onto your dashboard, and you press the button on and off when you want to use the LED light bar. I don't want it on the dash. I don't want to have to reach over to the dash every time I want to switch the light bar on. I want it on my gear stick, which I've got a habit of just resting my hand on the gear stick, and I'd want to just be able to reach over, just move my thumb on, off. So obviously I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back of this, but it's not contoured to wrap around the gear stick. So I've got some builder's bog which I'm going to put on here to sort of mold a bit of a contour, and I'm using my Karcher connection, which I found is a very similar size to the gear stick. So I'm going to use my Karcher as a guide to moulding some builder's bog on the back of this switch. Let's see how we go. Going to leave that to go off, and all this excess will be very easy to sand off. So that's how my builder's bog modification has turned out. Fits beautifully. So all I do now is I'll put some double-sided tape along there on the back of it and stick her on there like that. That's how it's finished up. She's all good to go. All that's left is a test drive tonight, so I'll see you tonight. Okay, so we're on a road where there's no lighting. And what you're seeing now is my low beams, high beams, LED. High beams, LED. High beams, LED. So the LED lights up a little bit further, but it's a lot broader and a lot brighter. That's low beam, high beam, and cheap Chinese LED. Not bad for a cheap Chinese LED, not bad. And the positioning of the switch on the gear stick's fantastic. Like it just, because I've got a habit of always resting my hand on the gear lever, and it's just so easy. Low beam, LED. Yeah, great improvement, great improvement. Anyway guys, thanks for tuning in. If you like what you've seen, hit the like button, share it around, and till the next video, skip it. Oh, look at that kangaroo! Only in Australia. Gotta watch these blokes because they're liable to jump out in front of you. He's a big boy. There you go. Look at that. Ooh, he's a big boy. I was about to sign off. Skippy D, he's out.